Chapter 1151. Stumped, Kingsley smiled dryly. I was just bragging. How would he seek Benjamin's help if he had a lot of women? Moreover, he didn't want to go for blind dates. Benjamin glanced at him and said faintly, I can't help you with this. Staring at them from time to time, Orissa wondered what they were talking about. Mr. Watts, are you trying to snatch him away from me? She joked. It suddenly dawned on Kingsley why Benjamin had looked at him with such disdain earlier. A faint light flashed across Benjamin's eyes as he suggested, I can lend Ethan to you at night. Ethan had a sense of foreboding. What did he mean by that? Boss, why are you lending him to me? Kingsley asked. If you bring Ethan home for dinner later, you can stop your grandfather from urging you to get married. Benjamin didn't mind the consequences at all. That was simply his payback to them for disturbing his sweet moment with Orissa earlier. Kingsley gave a smile that looked worse than crying. Boss, are you trying to dig a grave for me? If I were to bring a man back, my grandpa would end up in the hospital. Thinking about the consequences, Kingsley felt he might even be kicked out of the Watts family. Orissa could roughly understand what they were talking about. You've been urged to get married, Mr. Watts. I think Benjamin's suggestion is pretty good. You can give it a try, she said with a smile. Kingsley's face fell. What a mean couple. I don't think it's good at all. Being targeted for no reason, Ethan immediately said, Mr. Graham, I have something to do tonight. I'll arrange for someone else to accompany Mr. Watts. You have something to do. How come I don't know? Benjamin asked. A chill ran down his spine. Ethan said cautiously, There's a dinner. In fact, I have reported to you a few days ago. Before he could finish speaking, Benjamin broke in, I'll get the vice CEO to handle it. Go and have dinner with Kingsley tonight. The rest of your tasks can be put on hold at the moment, and your salary for this month will be doubled. At the mention of salary, Ethan changed his mind at once. All right, I'll make sure to complete this mission. Kingsley's lips twitched as he glared at Ethan. What are you talking about? I didn't even say that I would be bringing you home. Why are you fooling around like your boss? Ethan retorted, Do you think I want to do that? I still want to get a wife. If I don't complete the mission Mr. Graham gives me, my salary will be cut. Well, if you're willing to compensate me for that, I promise I won't go. Kingsley frowned. Why should I compensate you? This has nothing to do with you. Orissa watched them arguing, feeling amused. She was rather impressed with Benjamin's prank. It's set. Let's go to the meeting. Benjamin spared Ethan a glance and headed toward the door. Yes. Ethan stopped arguing with Kingsley at once and hurriedly followed behind Benjamin. But Kingsley felt he had shot himself in the foot. He shouldn't have asked Benjamin for help in the beginning. This is not even helping me. He's just making trouble. Boss, you are so mean. Kingsley sat down angrily. His handsome face was all flushed. Looking at Kingsley with a smile, Orissa picked up the glass and sipped the water calmly. When Kingsley met her curious gaze, he was even more down in the dumps. It's all your fault, Mrs. Graham. Orissa looked all innocent. Why do I feel wronged? I didn't even do anything. Why are you blaming me? Kingsley snorted. If you hadn't asked that purposely, Boss wouldn't have suggested anything like this. Chapter 1152. If you have too many women that you don't know who to choose, you can just draw lots and bring home the one who is selected. Why do you need Benjamin to help you? Orissa said, having fun teasing him. Or were you bragging about having a lot of women? The corners of Kingsley's mouth twitched. As expected of Boss's woman. Her retort is just like his. It was a hard slap in the face. Earlier, he had forgotten that he had come over to seek Benjamin's help. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said something like that to Ethan. Don't worry, since your boss has given the order, Ethan will definitely complete the mission perfectly well. However, you need to hold back a little at that time. Don't be too intimate, or your grandfather won't be able to bear the blow. Orissa ate another piece of fruit. Seeing how Orissa was fanning the flames, Kingsley turned glummer. It'd be better if he hadn't given any suggestions. Coming to him is simply a mistake, Kingsley said angrily. Boss is so mean. Orissa couldn't help laughing. She continued eating the fruits and stopped attending to Kingsley. Staring at Orissa, who was sitting opposite him, something suddenly struck his mind. He went over to her cheekily and said, "Mrs. Graham, why don't you give me some ideas? If I really bring Ethan home tonight, my grandfather will definitely collapse. I know you respect the elderly. You won't want his health to be affected, will you? Do you have any female friends who are single? Please help me out. I promise to return her to you unscathed." Instead of giving him an answer, Orissa asked, "Didn't you say that you aren't lacking in female companions?" Kingsley smiled awkwardly. "Those are just for a show. I don't have any women with me. I deliberately stepped on Ethan's nerves earlier." Orissa was rendered speechless. "My grandfather knows those girls too. If I bring any one of them home, he'll know that I'm lying to him." Kingsley sighed. Orissa shook her head. "What are you afraid of? Worst comes to worst, just go on blind dates. You aren't young anyway. Who knows if you will find someone you like. Even if you don't like the person, no one is going to force you to get into a relationship with her." "You're right, Mrs. Graham. I'm just worried that if the other party has taken a fancy to me, I won't be able to shake her off. I'm so handsome, after all." Kingsley looked serious. "Oh, my, stop being so narcissistic. Mrs. Graham, do you have any besties who are single?" Kingsley pinned his hopes on her. Orissa smiled. "My bestie is not in the country. She can't help you with this." Kingsley heaved a heavy sigh. "My luck." Slumping on the couch, he said helplessly, "Do I really have to listen to my grandfather and go on blind dates? Why is your grandfather urging you to get into a relationship all of a sudden?" She asked curiously. "It's all because of you and Boss. My grandfather is triggered after seeing the 6 children in your house. That's why he ordered me to bring back a woman today." Kingsley was extremely distressed. Orissa burst into laughter. "How about I let you bring back my 6 children to deal with your grandfather?" Kingsley knitted his brows. "Is it going to work?" "Well, my kids can surely divert your grandfather's attention. It's better than bringing Ethan to meet him, right?" After mulling over it, Kingsley felt that it was a good idea. In the end, he really brought her 6 children to his house at night. When Benjamin came back after the meeting, he saw Orissa sitting on the couch and scrolling on her phone. Sitting next to her, he asked, "Has Kingsley left?" Looking up at him, Orissa couldn't help smiling upon seeing him in a suit. He looked just like a CEO. "Yeah, he just left." Benjamin raised his brows. "Just left." Chapter 1153. His meeting lasted for 2 hours. It was surprising to hear that Kingsley had only left a while ago. Benjamin pulled Orissa into his arms and asked, "What did he say to you?" Sensing the jealousy in his voice, Orissa was amused. When she turned around and saw the gloomy expression on his handsome face, she gently pinched his cheek. "What's with the long face? Smile." Pursing his thin lips, he fixed his eyes on her, feeling displeased. "What else? It's about the same thing. He was just asking if I had any besties who could help him out." She told him about her conversation with Kingsley lest Benjamin got green-eyed. After hearing what she said, Benjamin snorted. His jealousy had dissipated a lot. "He's just looking for troubles. Did he disturb your rest? Are you tired? Do you want to go in and lie down for a while?" "I'm fine. Have some fruits." Orissa picked up a piece and put it in his mouth. Benjamin wanted to accompany her for a while after having a few pieces. However, his subordinate had come to report work to him. When the subordinate saw them being intimate with each other, he stopped at the door and didn't enter. Holding the plate of fruits, she gently bumped Benjamin and said, "Go ahead with your work." "All right. Don't play with your phone for too long." After stroking her head, he stood up and straightened his clothes. Then he went to his office desk and let his subordinate in. "Mr. Graham, Mrs. Graham," the man greeted and walked over to Benjamin to report the work. Orissa nodded in response and felt a little embarrassed when she met his eyes. She sat on the couch quietly and continued eating. Instead of scrolling on her phone, she listened to their discussion. Soon after, Orissa was bored with it. She took her phone with her and entered the lounge, preparing to lie down for a rest. Right then, she received a call from William. "Mrs. Graham, are you with Mr. Graham? I can't reach him by phone." He sounded anxious. Orissa was stunned. "Yes, what's wrong?" Perhaps Benjamin had switched off his phone when he was in the meeting earlier. "Old Mr. Graham fell," William said. "Is Dad all right? Where did he get hurt?" Orissa stood up at once, feeling extremely worried. William immediately gave her a brief account of the situation. Quote, "I'm with old Mr. Graham in the hospital now. He is having his X-ray taken. The result is not out yet. Are you in Centralite Hospital? I'm going there right now." Orissa walked out while talking on the phone. "What happened?" Benjamin asked when he saw her looking rather unsettled. "Dad fell at home earlier. He's in the hospital now. I need to go and have a look," Orissa replied. Benjamin frowned. He turned around and said to the executive, "Write a report to me for the rest of the matters. I have to go to the hospital now." "Yes, Mr. Graham." Knowing that something had happened to Darius, the executive didn't hold Benjamin up anymore. "I'll go with you to the hospital." Taking his coat, Benjamin grabbed Orissa's hand and went out together. Orissa nodded in agreement. "Is it serious?" Benjamin was worried. "William said that Dad is having his X-ray taken now. The result is not out yet." Orissa wasn't sure about the details either. Benjamin didn't ask anything more. The couple rushed over to the hospital at once. As soon as they reached the hospital, they saw that Darius was conscious and was having a cast applied to him. Dad! Benjamin and Orissa sized him up worriedly. When they found that he had only injured his arm, they let out a sigh of relief. "Why are you here? I thought I told William to keep you guys in the dark because I didn't want you to worry." Darius flashed a glare at William. William touched his nose sheepishly and explained, "I was just worried about you. That was why I told Mrs. Graham about it. Besides, you had quite a bad fall too. You even got a cast." Chapter 1154. "Dad, stop blaming it on William. He's just worried about you. We'll eventually know about it since you've come to the hospital. Did you get hurt anywhere else?" With watery eyes, Orissa stepped forward and scrutinized him. "I just hurt my arm." Darius waved his uninjured hand, telling Orissa to calm down. Orissa breathed a sigh of relief and exchanged a glance with Benjamin. Standing at the side, they waited for the doctor to finish applying the cast on Darius. It had only been a while since Darius was discharged from the hospital. He really made them worry about him. "William, how did Dad fall?" Orissa asked. William flitted his eyes from Darius to the couple and said in a low voice, "This morning, Miss Reynolds went to the old manor to look for old Mr. Graham. Not long after she left, old Mr. Graham fell." William spared a glance at Benjamin. Benjamin's expression darkened. Orissa looked at Benjamin too. It turned out that Patricia had gone to the old manor and looked for Darius again. Benjamin's face stiffened. It was hard to guess what was on his mind. However, the aura he exuded was so intimidating that no one dared to breathe normally. When the doctor had finished applying the cast, Benjamin followed him out to ask about Darius' condition. Orissa stayed in the ward together with William to keep Darius company. She poured a glass of water for him. "Dad, here." Darius took it over and had a sip. "Issa, have a seat too. Don't keep standing." "I'm fine." Looking at him, she sighed. "What do you mean by, you're fine? You even have a fracture." The recovery process of an elder wasn't as fast as a child's. It was going to take a long time for it to heal completely. "I missed a step on the stairs," Darius said in a low voice like a child who had something wrong. Orissa wanted to laugh, but she stifled it and said, "Dad, be careful in the future. Don't think about other things when you walk. You'll get us worried if you're hurt. Besides, you'll have a tough time too." "Okay." Darius nodded obediently. As Orissa was sitting by the bed and peeling an apple for Darius, Benjamin walked in. "Stay in the hospital these 3 months to recuperate. Don't run around," he said to Darius. 3 months. Frowning, Darius sat up. William immediately went forward to support him. "Alas, I'm fine. Why do I need to be hospitalized just because of a broken arm? I want to go home." Darius looked at Benjamin. Benjamin looked at him helplessly. "I don't want you to stay here either, but you're injured. Who can you blame for that? The doctor said that it's going to take 3 months for you to recover completely. Be good and get hospitalized. After all, having a fracture wasn't a small matter. Darius knew he was in the wrong, but he continued defying. 3 months are too long. Other than my arm, I'm not injured anywhere else. I can recuperate faster at home, and it's more convenient for me too. I'm going to be bored to death if I stay in the hospital all day long. Benjamin fixed his eyes on Darius to the extent that the latter trembled a little. However, thinking that he was his father, Darius returned his stare. Why are you staring at me? Stay here until tomorrow, at least. You can go back if there's nothing wrong with your checkup, Benjamin said. Darius' eyes lit up. Did he agree to let me recuperate at home? Let's go back now. There's no need for any further checkups. I know my condition the best. Tomorrow, Benjamin insisted. Benjamin was worried that Darius might have hurt his head because of the fall. Benjamin could only be assured only if the latter were fine after staying back overnight for observation. Seeing how insistent Benjamin was, Darius didn't say anything more. Otherwise, he wouldn't be allowed to go home. Tomorrow if his son got upset. Benjamin pulled over the chair and sat by the bed. What did she say to you? He asked like he was interrogating someone. Darius' eyes glinted. Chapter 1155. Orissa stuck a toothpick in one of the apple slices she had cut and handed it to Benjamin. She ordered, "You should feed Dad." Benjamin turned to look at her, and his eyes met Orissa's. He furrowed his brow. Can she not tell I was talking about serious matters with Dad? Hurry up and feed Dad. He's a patient now, Orissa scolded, not caring whether he was willing or not. William went wide-eyed with shock. I feel that only Mrs. Graham dares to speak to Mr. Graham like this without angering him. Darius' eyes darted between the couple, and he was secretly delighted. Finally, there's someone able to keep Benjamin under control. Issa is so good to me. Darius sighed in gratification. Benjamin turned his head to roll his eyes at Darius. He picked up a slice of apple and brought it to the man's mouth. Would you have been able to eat this without me feeding you? You don't have to feed me. We shall see if I'll be able to eat without you. Darius acted unreasonably despite having the advantage. Benjamin let it slide and continued to feed him a few more slices. He got back to his previous question. What did that woman say to you to have caused you to fall? It must be something serious. Darius trembled from hearing his mockery. Aren't you able to guess what she said? Benjamin did know what she said, but he let out a cold snort. What's the point of being mad at me? Darius stared daggers at him. Little punk, are you even my son? Are you here to make me feel bad? Noticing that they started squabbling, Orissa tugged the hem of Benjamin's shirt and shook her head. Speak nicely to Dad. The solemn-looking Benjamin picked up another slice of apple and ate it. Seeing this, Darius grew even angrier. Why did you eat that? Isn't that for me? Who said it was for you? Why can't I eat what my wife prepared? You can get your wife to cut some for you if you're so capable. Benjamin's anger flared up as well, and he continued to eat a few more pieces. He quickly finished the apple slices as there were only a few slices left. Orissa was stunned. Benjamin usually doesn't eat fruits. He really ate the apple slices just to spite Dad. Darius raised his hand, which was trembling from anger. He pointed at the door and yelled, "Get out. I don't want to see you. I'm so mad. If it weren't for this little punk's mental well-being, would I be this lonely? William, look after him. We'll leave first." Benjamin set the fruit plate down, grabbed Orissa's hand, and started making his way out. William looked at the stubborn pair of father and son anxiously. They always argue the moment they start talking. Mr. Graham, why don't you keep old Mr. Graham company for a while more? Who's asking for his company? Let him leave. Darius turned his head to look outside the window. Dad, don't be angry. I'll come back to see you later. Orissa exclaimed while she was being forced to leave with Benjamin. Seeing Benjamin leaving with Orissa, William sighed and asked, Old Mr. Graham, why are you upset with Mr. Graham? He only asked because he was concerned about you. You heard him too. How was that being concerned? He was mocking me. Darius was livid. Seeing that Darius was quite exasperated, William went forward to pat his chest gently. That little punk even ate the apple slices Issa gave me. Darius frowned unhappily. William chuckled discreetly. I'll prepare some apple slices if you want to eat more. Who wants to eat the apple slices you prepared? I want the food prepared by my daughter-in-law. Darius huffed. Mrs. Graham said she'll come back later. She'll cut some for you if you want some. Is that all right? William coaxed Darius as he poured a glass of water for the latter. The angry Darius was placated after he took a sip of water. Will they return after they have left? Of course. When has Mrs. Graham ever lied to you? She must have gone to buy something for you to eat since it's lunchtime. William then helped Darius to lie down. Now that you mentioned it, I'm actually feeling a bit hungry. Darius glanced at William before he silently waited for Orissa to come back. Chapter 1156. Orissa followed Benjamin out of the hospital. She sighed faintly when she saw he was wearing a grim expression. It's already noon. Let's go eat. Okay. Benjamin swept a gaze over her and took her to the car. Orissa squeezed his hand, and she asked, is there anything else that needs to be taken care of at the company? Let's eat first. Benjamin did not want to talk about it. He instructed the driver to drive to a restaurant. Orissa's eyes lingered on him for a while, but she remained silent. She ordered food to go for Darius and William at the restaurant before eating with Benjamin. Benjamin raised his head, and he fixed his eyes on Orissa. He asked in a deep voice, are you returning to the hospital? Orissa found his childish petulance amusing. Yes. Dad and William must not have eaten yet since they're at the hospital. I'll bring them food later so that they don't go hungry. Benjamin snorted coldly, but he did not say anything. Darling, you should eat more. You must be tired from working hard every day. Orissa eagerly piled his plate up with food while coaxing him gently. Benjamin felt content and ate more than he usually did. Orissa finished her meal quickly before exiting the restaurant with Benjamin. Darling, you can go back to the company. I'll go to the hospital myself. She had said that as she was worried, he would follow her to the hospital and argue with Darius again. Benjamin held her hand and brought her to the car. I'll take you there. Orissa glanced at him, and she chuckled in secret when she noticed that his mood had improved greatly. Benjamin dropped Orissa at the hospital entrance. He was going to head straight to the company. Don't stay at the hospital for too long. Go back and rest early. Got it, Orissa responded with a smile. She leaned over to give him a peck on the cheek before closing the car door and hurrying into the hospital. It was not until Benjamin could not see her figure anymore that he let the driver drive back to the company. Orissa heard Darius' weak voice when she arrived at the entrance of the ward. Why isn't Issa back yet, William? They didn't have a change of heart, did they? You should go to a nearby restaurant and see if there's anything to eat. I'm starving. I bet that little punk stopped her from coming. Old Mr. Graham, have some water. I'll go right now. William quickly poured a glass of water for Darius. Just when he was about to leave for the restaurant, he was pleasantly surprised to see Orissa walk in. Mrs. Graham. Orissa smiled, and she placed the food she was carrying on the table. Dad, you must be starving. I should have returned earlier. Darius was moved to see that Orissa really came back with food for them. I thought you weren't coming back, Darius said pitifully. I should have let you know that I'd be late, Orissa responded apologetically, and she helped him to sit up. I know you haven't had lunch, so I brought some food for you both. William, you can eat now. I'll feed Dad. Yes, Mrs. Graham. William hurriedly set up a small side table at the bedside and placed the food there. Orissa brought a bowl of soup to Darius. Dad, be careful, it's hot. Issa, you can put that down. I'll drink it myself slowly. You should eat too. He was afraid that she would go hungry. After all, his daughter-in-law was pregnant with a baby in her belly. I already ate, Orissa stated awkwardly. I ate lunch with Benjamin before I brought the food back. Darius did not take the matter to heart. That's good. I thought that little punk left you alone and went off by himself. I guess he's still not bad since he knows he should eat with his wife. Orissa looked at Darius and smiled. He dropped me off here a while ago. Darius let out a snort, which carried a hint of pride. He then happily ate his lunch. Orissa fed Darius patiently. Darius enjoyed the meal as she had bought all his favorite dishes. Issa, the food you bought is delicious. I want to have more. Orissa was elated. You should eat some more then. This is all for you and William. William, you should eat more too. William nodded with a smile. Thank you, Mrs. Graham. Chapter 1157. Orissa accompanied Darius while he finished his meal and only left after they talked for a while. On her way home, the bodyguard noticed that a few cars were tailing them. Mrs. Graham, there are cars following us from behind. Hold on tight, I'll shake them off. Startled, Orissa turned her head. Indeed, there were 2 cars, one on the left and one on the right, following them closely. Are you sure you can lose them? I'll give it a try. The bodyguard stepped on the gas pedal. I don't know who's tailing us, but it won't be good if they are enemies. Orissa held on to the grab handle, her attention on the cars tailing them. They also sped up when the bodyguard drove faster. Clearly, they were after them. Orissa frowned. Who are these people? The bodyguard planned to get rid of their pursuers at the intersection ahead. That was when a car blocked their path just as he accelerated to make a turn. Screech. The car came to an abrupt stop as the tires screeched loudly. Mrs. Graham, are you okay? Seeing that their pursuers were closing in, the bodyguard quickly contacted the headquarters. There were more than 10 people who got out of the cars. The inertia caused Orissa to crash into the car door. After a while, she rebounded back onto her seat. I'm fine. Mrs. Graham, please stay in the car and don't get out. The bodyguard got out of the car without hesitation and attacked the approaching people. Orissa grew uneasy seeing the bodyguard face more than 10 people alone. She would have joined the fight if it were not for the baby in her belly, as she thought that the 2 of them would be able to handle them. The bodyguard was pretty skilled, and he subdued 8 of the assailants easily. The assailants exchanged looks with each other, and the leader commanded, "Make this quick." Just then, the bodyguard got injected with something, which immediately put him at a disadvantage. Very soon, he was covered with injuries. The bodyguard got kicked and was sent flying away. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and passed out instantly. Orissa's eyes turned cold. She was about to fall into the hands of the enemy. The car door was suddenly opened, and she met the gaze of the other party. Terrified, Orissa moved to the other side of the vehicle. The other party yelled aggressively, "Get out of the car." Who are you? Did you get the wrong person? I don't know you. Orissa put on a frightened and timid act, and tears welled up in her eyes. Her pitiful appearance evoked some sympathy from the other party. Well, we know you. You're Benjamin Graham's wife. We haven't mistaken you for anyone. Get out of the car. Someone reached their hand in and forcibly dragged Orissa out of the car. Orissa fearfully got out of the car cooperatively lest she got hurt. Her heart wrenched when she saw the bodyguard lying nearby, covered in blood. Who are you? I'm not Benjamin's wife. You've really got the wrong person. Don't take me away. I'm innocent. Orissa cried out while trembling all over. The other party exchanged glances with each other. They were hesitant as Orissa seemed to be telling the truth. Do we have the wrong person? Why would she be in Benjamin's car if she isn't his wife? Don't listen to her nonsense. Take her away now, the leader ordered. He was not one to be easily fooled. Orissa was soon rendered unconscious by his lackey. They put a black sack over her head and threw her into the car. Soon, the 3 cars sped away. Orissa was nowhere to be found when people from the mansion rushed over. There was only their coworker lying on the ground. They immediately reported the situation to Benjamin as they knew something bad had happened. Benjamin's face fell when he received the news, and he hurriedly strode out of his office. Mr. Graham, what happened? From Benjamin's grim expression, Ethan could tell that something had happened, prompting him to quickly follow his employer. Orissa has been kidnapped. Bring the laptop, Benjamin ordered. Ethan ran back to the office to grab the laptop and rushed to the elevator. He was already ready to check the surveillance footage before Benjamin even gave the instructions. Mr. Graham, where was Mrs. Graham taken? Chapter 1158. The intersection on Bayham Street. Benjamin uttered while he used his phone to search for Arissa's whereabouts. Benjamin narrowed his eyes when he saw the red dot moving toward the suburbs. He arranged for some people to head in that direction and others to expand the search range for any clues. Mr. Graham, that place is a blind spot for surveillance cameras. The cameras at the intersection has also been tampered with, so it didn't capture any record of Mrs. Graham heading home. After Ethan reported his findings, he continued his investigation, which would need some time. Continue investigating. Tell me immediately when you find any information. I will go check the suburbs. Benjamin got the driver to stop the car. He got out swiftly, pulled the driver out, and got into the driver's seat. Mr. Graham, let me go with you. Ethan did not dare let Benjamin go alone and felt it would be safer if he went as well. As time was ticking, Benjamin merely knitted his brow and did not ask Ethan to get out of the car. He stepped on the accelerator and drove to the highway. Arissa found herself in an abandoned warehouse when she woke up. Her limbs were tied up, and her hands were tied behind her back. It would be hard for her to seek help with her mouth taped with duct tape. Her neck was still hurting. From being knocked unconscious, she still had the black sack over her head. Arissa wriggled around and managed to remove the black sack partially. She then cautiously observed her surroundings through the gap, hoping to find a way out. Unfortunately, she was surrounded by walls, and the sole window had a security mesh fitted. Arissa could only leave through the door if she wanted to get out. She had no idea who these people were and whether Benjamin knew she had been abducted. Arissa tried to collect herself. She then thought about the people who held grudges against her. Keep a close watch on her. A voice suddenly rang out from outside. Arissa lowered her head quickly, letting the black sack cover her head once more. Her attention was on the movements at the door. Arissa pretended to still be unconscious the moment the door opened. Don't worry, we will keep watch at the door. She won't be able to escape. Boss, since we have captured the target already, when will that person be here? I have already notified the person. They should be here soon. You lot better stay on guard, and two of you should keep watch inside. There's no way she can escape from here. It's not like she can fly. Stop talking nonsense. Go keep watch inside, the leader yelled. The two people who entered stared intently at Arissa. Soon, the sound of footsteps faded away, indicating that the leader had left. Arissa stayed perfectly still, but her eyes were shifting around under the black sack. She knew she would be at a disadvantage if she tried to escape by force. Moreover, Arissa did not dare to take risks as she was pregnant. If it were in the past, Arissa would have been able to deal with these few people. At the moment, she just wanted to find out who exactly had kidnapped her. I didn't expect Benjamin's wife to be so beautiful. Look at her figure. Why don't we? Arissa felt utterly repulsed by that disgusting voice. Don't mess around. That man hasn't arrived yet. There will be consequences if that man finds out. The other person reprimanded. Tisk, doesn't that man just want to teach Benjamin a lesson? Imagine how Benjamin would feel if we slept with his wife. The person continued to persuade his comrade as his gaze roamed Arissa's body. It's up to whatever that man wants to do. We just have to obey orders. You might anger him if you mess around. At this point, the person had nothing else to say. Not long after, footsteps could be heard outside, and Arissa's heart raced from nervousness. Has the mastermind come? Sir, the person is inside. An obsequious voice sounded from the entrance. A figure wearing a mask entered the warehouse, followed by a group of subordinates. He glanced at Arissa, who was sitting on the ground with a sack over her head. The man gestured to someone beside him. The other person immediately understood his intention, and the former hastily removed the sack. Sir, is it this woman? Everything would be all for naught if they captured the wrong person. The masked man hummed in affirmation as his lips curved into a smug smile. Chapter 1159. Arissa wanted to know who the man was, so she pretended to have just woken up, only to see that he had concealed his face behind a mask. Feigning horror, she shrunk away from him and asked in a trembling voice, "Who are you? Why did you kidnap me?" The man had only hummed in response earlier. That was not enough for Arissa to identify him. But, if he were to speak, she might just be able to match his voice to a face. Presently, the man glared at her and made no reply. A sudden gleam flashed in her eyes. She resorted to provoking him. "There's no point in holding me captive here. It's not as if we're enemies or something. What, are you so afraid that I'd recognize you that you won't even show your face?" The man behind the mask let out a harsh bark of laughter. "You don't get to decide if there's a point to all this." Orissa froze. The man's voice was familiar, but she could not quite remember who it belonged to. She continued grimly, "You could at least tell me the reason you've gone to such lengths to kidnap me and bring me here." It seemed wrong for her to die without knowing exactly why. "The only fault you've committed is being married to Benjamin." The man snarled, his ferocity and hatred for Benjamin clear in his tone. Hearing this, Orissa bristled and looked at the man in disbelief. She finally figured out who this voice belonged to, but she did not falter as she asked, "Julian?" The man's eyes widened in surprise. He didn't expect Orissa to recognize him, but now that his cover was blown, he dispensed with the mask and revealed his face. "You're sharp, Aunt Orissa." Julian eyed her venomously. Orissa stared at him evenly and countered, "Aren't you worried that my husband will come after you for revenge?" Julian blanched at the thought of Benjamin's vicious and vindictive side, but he recovered the next second. "If it weren't for Benjamin, my father would never have been thrown behind bars, and I wouldn't be backed into a corner, either. I'm not doing anything as drastic as Benjamin had done, just collecting my dues. I want him to know what it's like to lose someone or something he cares about." Orissa shuddered at the unadulterated hatred Julian had for Benjamin. She clenched her fists as she tried to keep her panic subdued. "What are you planning to do?" she asked warily, keeping her guard up against Julian and his men. She would be wise not to provoke them any further if she wanted to make it out of here alive. "Oh, are you scared, Aunt Orissa?" Julian taunted. His gaze fell on Orissa's delicate face. She was beautiful even when placed under such dire circumstances. "It would be a shame if she died." "Of course I'm scared. I'm just a helpless, ordinary woman. Why did you capture me when you have an axe to grind with Benjamin? You should have gone after him instead." Death terrified Orissa. "What will the children do without me? Plus, I still have a baby on the way, one who is waiting to see this world." "Ha, Benjamin would be devastated if he heard what you said. My uncle puts you on a pedestal and loves you beyond all things, that much I know. Yet, here you are, ready to throw him under the bus for your own survival." Julian stared at her wickedly as the wheels in his brain began turning. He could use Orissa as leverage against Benjamin. "That will crush the man for sure. Perhaps you should join me," Julian suggested, crouching down to pinch Orissa's chin. Orissa was disgusted but kept a straight face as she retorted, "I wonder if your family knows about your acquired taste in women, Julian." "Gross. I can't believe he's actually making a pass at me right now." Julian laughed. "Well, I can't help myself, Aunt Orissa, you're gorgeous. I'm dying to see the look on Uncle Benjamin's face when he sees his woman lying in my arms. It'll be quite the spectacle." As he said this, he stroked Orissa's cheek slowly. She imperceptibly dodged his touch. If she weren't in such a tight spot right now, she would never allow Julian to subject her to such humiliation. "Disgusting creep. How dare he touch me? Julian, would you mind unbinding my hands? They're swelling up," she said meekly, flashing Julian a submissive smile. Julian's eyes glimmered. He had to admit that Benjamin was a lucky man to have married such a beautiful woman. It was too bad Orissa feared death more than she loved Benjamin. She switches sides in the blink of an eye. Benjamin would be furious if he found out his wife betrayed him. The thought pleased Julian to no end, and he untied Orissa's hands when he saw that they were indeed swollen from being restrained. The moment Orissa's hands were freed, she immediately put Julian into a chokehold. Chapter 1160. Julian tried to struggle free but stopped when he felt a sudden sharp pain in his neck. As it turned out, Orissa's ring concealed a small, sharp blade that could cut a man's throat. "Don't move, or else." With a smooth slice, Orissa instantly made a shallow cut in Julian's neck, drawing blood. The men around them immediately swarmed up to Orissa, but Julian lifted a hand and waved them away. "Don't come any closer. Can't you see that I'm hurt?" He could feel his warm blood dripping down his neck. If he pushed Orissa any further, she might just decide to take his life. Orissa looked at Julian and his men warily, sizing them up. There were about a dozen of them. She had Julian in a chokehold and a weapon pressed against his throat. Her free hand clapped over his meridian point. If she just pressed down on it, she could shut down his nervous system entirely. As things were, he could neither fight back nor escape. "Have your men stand on one side of the room," Orissa barked, tightening her grip on Julian. "Now, watch your hand, Aunt Orissa," Julian cried out as his gaze flickered to the hand pressed against his neck. He was worried that she could slice his throat open in the heat of the moment. "Have your men stand on one side of the room," she repeated as she half-dragged Julian to the door. "Now, all of you, come in and stand on one side, and don't move a muscle." Helpless, Julian ordered his men to come into the warehouse and stand on one far end of the room. Right now, he was nothing more than a lamb waiting for its turn at the slaughterhouse. There was no way he could break free. He had been too careless. He didn't expect Orissa to outsmart him and hold him hostage. Resigned to his fate, he did not move at all while Orissa still had him in a chokehold. When all of Julian's men had come into the warehouse, Orissa dragged Julian out the door. She looked around, and she did not relax until she was sure no one was outside. However, just to be safe, she ordered Julian, "Lock the door." Julian looked at her in mute despair. Must she be this paranoid? "Loosen your hand just a bit, Aunt Orissa, or I'll suffocate," he begged. "Lock the door now," she repeated sharply, tightening her hold on him. Okay, Julian replied frantically and obediently locked the door. It would be harder for the men in there to come out now. Orissa dragged Julian over to the car, whereupon she deftly knocked him out, then got into the vehicle. She started the engine and drove away from the warehouse. By the time Benjamin arrived at the scene, he saw Julian lying unconscious on the ground and the men in the warehouse trying to break their way out. Benjamin silently signaled Ethan to stand by the door. As soon as Ethan opened the door, the men inside the warehouse immediately made to rush out, but they skidded to a halt when they saw the gun in Ethan's hand. Ethan looked around but did not see Orissa. He turned back and reported to Benjamin, "Mr. Graham, Mrs. Graham isn't here. But we tracked her all the way here. Where else could she be?" Julian's presence here was by no means a coincidence. He was definitely the one who gave orders for Orissa to be captured. Meanwhile, the men in the warehouse bristled when they saw Benjamin. They gulped and felt beads of cold sweat dripping down their backs. They hadn't expected Benjamin to get here so soon. "Where did you take Mrs. Graham?" Ethan demanded icily. The men shook their heads in bewilderment. They had no idea where Orissa had gone, but they dared not admit this. They could not even bring themselves to speak. Benjamin's eyes darkened. He bent down, hauled Julian up and punched him. Julian woke up immediately. "Where's Orissa?" Benjamin bit out through gritted teeth. When Julian met his uncle's vicious gaze, he felt a chill run down his spine, and he nearly wet his pants. "You Uncle Benjamin," he greeted shakily. "Where is my wife?" Benjamin asked again. This time, the murderous intent was clear in his obsidian eyes, and his voice was like a sharp, icy blade. I don't know," Julian cried. He was telling the truth. Orissa had knocked him out before she took the car and left. More importantly, he could not very well admit that he was behind her kidnapping. Benjamin narrowed his eyes and landed another punch on Julian's face. A round of merciless beating later, Julian lay on the ground, feeling as though he was on the verge of death. He was in so much pain that he could not even move a finger. "I'll ask you again, where is my wife?" Benjamin looked down at Julian like the latter was a dead man.